Hey everyone, and welcome back to Miranda Pitrone Art. I know it has been forever since I have done a long video, so I was thinking I'd go back kind of to where it all started when I was about 5 years old painting rocks. So I have a very nice stone for us today to check out. And I just wanted to update everyone really quickly first. I am in the middle of looking for a new host for my website because this one just didn't work out. So for now, I started a Facebook page that is just Shop Miranda Pitrone Art, so you can get all the goodies and tools and stuff you need to do your own art in this style. So, or if you're just looking for little tricks and tips and videos, that kind of thing, I'm going to be posting that on this page as well. All right, so here is the stone I have for today, and it's just a beach stone that I found. It's not perfectly circular. I really thought this one was particularly cool because it already has some of its own unique properties embedded in the stone, so I didn't want to paint over those, and I just put my little background circle here on. I just painted a black circle on here to start my design. Alright, so this is the finished stone of what we're going to do today. It's such a fun design and kind of reminds me of a peacock. I was trying to go more spring, like the beginnings of spring, but it is sort of a peacock theme. So I'm using Deco Art Americana acrylics. And so these are the paints that I used with this design. And of course black for our background color. And they are all from Deco Art. I have everything ranging from a multi-surface to the metallics, and then just the regular Americanas. And I believe all these colors are still available in their lines, but I will leave links in the description for anybody who's looking for these paints. They're great right out of the bottle for dotting. I absolutely love them. Okay, and these are the actual tools that I used in this design. So these first ones are just styluses with the end is a ball. And they come in packs that look like this. I actually sell these in my shop as well. And then I bend them all by hand so that they're on an angle so you can see where you're placing your dots to just make it a little easier for you. We can hold this like a pencil and it just makes it easier to see where you're placing your dots, in my opinion. Also doing the videos so I can see easier, it just helps me. So those are in my Etsy shop. This I call the etcher, my messy painting. You know, I didn't even clean it off at all, but this is what it looks like. This end is actually gold, and this end is the metallic end, which is silver. Here's a cleaner one here. And that was what we did the micro dots with, and then the pulling down. And I also have a silicone oval tool, which I used both ends in this design. So this was the small petals, and this is the larger oval. And then I always have a paintbrush on hand. I generally paint with these on my own, but for the purposes of this video, I only used it to make one correction on the stone, which you will see as you get into the video. All right, let's get going on this fun design, guys. I'm super excited to do this with you. Okay, so I am starting off with that largest dotting tool, which is a 3mm. It just happens to be the green one in this set. And that is my center dot. You can measure to find your center. I generally just eyeball it, but for this one we just use the 3mm, and then I'm going to go to the smallest one in the set and just kind of steal the paint from the center here to make a plus. And then in between those plus sign dots with the Venetian gold, I'm going to add a couple more dots here. So you end up with 8 altogether. Then I'm going to flip this pink tool around to the 1 millimeter end. So it's going to give us a little bit larger dot. And I'm going to put it in between those ones that I put down here first. Just making sure not to touch it because I am working with it all wet and they will run into one another and it will pull your dots out of shape. So you can either wait for the first round to dry completely or just make sure that you're not letting them touch if you don't want them to run into one another. Again, this is Venetian gold. Okay, and this is the silicone oval dotter. This is a brand new one, so it's not stained with paint, but we're going to use the smaller end this first time. And I'm going to grab some soft jade, mix it with a little bit of white, and then we're going to use that smaller end to make some petals here in between the larger of our gold dots. You can see I'm really pressing it down against the stone and just kind of rocking it back and forth so you get both points on the petal. It's a pretty easy to use tool. Okay, so now I'm going to take that edger tool again because I want some really, really tiny dots. Now we're going to take white and we're going to progressively let the dots get smaller by letting the paint run off the tool. So you're not going to dip it again unless you absolutely need to kind of make the dots be a little bit bigger at the beginning. And then you're just going to go around each of those petals, letting the paint run off the tool so they get smaller. A lot of people are calling this walking the dots, which is kind of fun. You're just walking them out and letting them get progressively smaller. And then we'll do that same thing down the other side of the petal. And again, I'm using white. It's just the Deco Art Snow White Titanium. And these are teeny, teeny, teeny dots. You can also get a similar effect if you don't have this tool or don't want to get this tool with a mechanical pencil, toothpicks, anything really pointy at the end. So now I've switched to the smallest dotting stylus, the pink one. And you can see even at the smallest, these ones are so much bigger than that little tiny end of the etcher tool. But I'm just starting at the top and working down and around, again letting the paint dry up off the tool so they get progressively smaller. And in my video you can't really see the change in the color, but I mixed a little of the jade in with the white, the soft jade, just to kind of give it a light green hue to it. So we went white, soft jade mixed with white, and then we'll do soft jade so it gets kind of progressively darker as each ring is finished. You're changing the color in sort of an ombre. And you're just working your way around both sides so that we have a complete ring around our petals. And you just take your time doing this. It's not rushed. Just take your time and work your way around each petal. This is supposed to be enjoyable. I don't have the same amount of dots down one side that I do the other, so if you're feeling caught up with counting, just let it go. Let it go and relax. So now I'm using the soft jade, and then I flipped my tool so that it's the 1mm side, so it's a little bit bigger end of the smallest tool. And so this way too, your dots get progressively larger. It kind of bulks up the design a little bit. You can do them all the same size around if you want that, but I just had a plan in my mind here that I'm working with. So smallest to largest, and then lightest to darker. And sometimes too, you'll see I just dropped off a little bit of paint on the next petal because I had too much on the tool and I didn't want 2 huge dots right in a row. So you'll get a feel for how much you need to load on your tool as you're painting. The more you do this, the easier it gets, I promise. You can ask any of the people who've been painting for just a few months doing the dotting. It gets easier the more you do it. Now we're just going to work down the other side of the petals here. And again, this is the soft jade, just straight up. No white in it. So now's the time to be kind of just relaxing and taking a minute to think about just being calm and enjoying painting each one of these. You don't have to count. You don't have to feel stressed. This is supposed to be enjoyable for your time. Okay, so now we have the silicone dotting tool. I'm going to grab the teal mint. And we're going to I think we'll go the side view here so you can see I'm using the small end of the silicone tool, so not the silicone end. Still the petal side, and I'm putting a little bit more paint on than I did the first round of petals, and this paint is a little bit more fluid than the other one, so it is making just a little bit larger petal as we go around, but you can see I'm literally touching the stone. I have no idea why my camera just flipped there, but we're working with it. And then just kind of make sure both sides touch so you get that rounded oval shape. If the paint was a little thicker, you would have kind of a pointier shape petal on each as you rock it back and forth. But I like to keep the consistency that we have of the paint for our dotting. So here you can see the top view. I'm just going in between each of those elements that we did a second ago. We finished up dotting around our first round of petals, and this is in where they intersect in that space. There are mediums out there. If your paint is a little bit too thin and it's runny and it's spreading everywhere, you can use a gel medium and that will thicken it up. Or if your paint is too thick, like you're using the heavy bodied acrylics like you would get out of the foil tubes, you can use a flow medium, which will thin it down for you. So those are two good things to have on hand. If you're going to use different brands of paint, then I just keep those like picnic ketchup bottles in case, and then I just squirt a little of the medium in as I go. I just mix it in the well. And then we have our second round here of the petals. Okay, so again, I want the really teeny tiny dots. So I'm going to grab the etcher tool here and the white. I'm going to give it a go around here with the white. And I know I'm dotting a little differently with the tools these days just because my thumb started to split. I don't know if you all had this problem, let me know in the comments, but gripping the tools too tight or just the repetitive action with the tools, it started to split open my thumb this winter. So as you can see, it's healing, but that's why it's sticking up in the air at you here. But you get the idea. We're starting with the white at the top and going around each petal, just like we did with the first round of petals. And you're just taking your time, walking it out, enjoying your painting time. Don't stress about how tight the spacing is, or I have 8 around this side, I need 8 around the other side. I promise nobody's going to be going in and counting your dots. And if they are, I mean, they can still enjoy the aesthetics of what your piece looks like when it's totally completed. So you can see my first white dot that I put down there had a little bit more than the rest of the ones around, but I'm just going to leave it there because I want to show you when this is done, no one's going to go back and be like, oh, that one dot, it was way bigger than all the rest. all the rest. So I just want to take this second too to kind of encourage you all to just put a shout out in the comments for me, please. If you're watching on TV, I know you can't put the comments, but if you're on your mobile or if you're on the computer and you can just pop over and to the chat and say hi in the comments, and even if you just leave where you're from or where you're watching from or how long you've been watching or even just a little smiley face or heart emoji, something like that. It just kind of helps out people's channels when you're interacting in the comments for them. So you don't have to pay anything. You get a free video here, instructional wise, but if you could just help me out and toss something like that in the comments, I would really appreciate it. I know everybody always does the click, link, subscribe, get the bell so you get notified, but you know, I just want you guys to enjoy this, but just a reminder, that is a way that you can support the artists on here. It's tough with all the algorithms. All right, so now I'm switching to the smaller dotting tool again, the pink one. And I am going around this with the teal mint. And again, I'll list all the colors that I used in the description, and you could check out the tools, the paints, and links to other fun stuff like the varnish and just other things that I've used over the years. And we're just working our way around again this next ring of petals. I had some of you suggest that maybe I read a poem or sing a song or something in the interim here as we go through these dots, but I have yet to set that up because I was super excited to get on with painting this stone this evening. I didn't set aside anything to do in the meantime. So how about I ask you guys questions like, when did you first start dotting? What are your favorite colors for dotting? Do you dot things other than mandalas? I really enjoy trying to fit mandalas into shapes. So I have ones that are like a hedgehog or a clover. Those are fun to do too. Okay, so now I am mixed the teal mint in with a little bit of some bluegrass green just to make it a little bit darker and a little progressively darker for our ombre pattern. So I mix those two together, and that is the color I'm using now with the little bit larger 1mm side of the pink dotting tool. So you don't have to use the same exact tools I have either. I know a lot of people have Mark's tools or Happy Dotting Company or just random ones that you've gotten in a mandala kit. So just start off your design and just work progressively bigger as you, when I say it's the next size up, just pick the next size up. It doesn't have to be 1mm. I know in the beginning I did say the black circle that I have on here is 3 inches in diameter, but you can do this design on a larger scale with larger dots as well, and I think that would be beautiful. Some people are using dowel rods too now. They're gigantic circles. It's amazing. I'm really enjoying the gold to the lights here that we have here. It's super shiny in the middle. All right, so we'll continue on here. Here's another question for you. How long have you been watching my videos? If you're new, I'd love to say hi and let you know there's hundreds of them on here. A lot of people, it's fun to see that there are people who have been following me for 4 or 5 years and they haven't seen some of the videos that I had out early on, or maybe they only saw half of a Valentine one because there's one on here that was only part 1 and a part 2. Or maybe for some reason the algorithms just haven't shown some that I've had on here for years. So how long have you been with my channel? And if you're not with my channel, how come? All right. So silicone oval tool. See this end? We've been using the small end up till now. This end is much larger, and you have to just kind of make sure that you set it down flat. So we're going to go straight up bluegrass green. Now remember, the ring before this was bluegrass green mixed with the teal mint, so it's a little bit lighter. And this one is the straight up bluegrass green, which I absolutely love this color. So you can see I'm just holding the tool on an angle, but the end is flat to the stone. And it makes a perfect little oval. I'm not sure why we had somebody on my Etsy shop say they had a challenge and they gave me 1 star because they didn't know how to use this end. So I suggested lots of videos. I tried to help them with the paint and everything, but they just said their rating is their rating and they gave me 1 star. But I don't think it's a 1-star tool. I think it's super helpful. And if your paint consistency is correct and you have it on a good angle towards your canvas, towards your stone, towards the piece of wood, whatever you're painting on, they come out in these perfect little ovals. So I try to help. I'm always open to try to answer questions you guys have, which is another thing you can put in the comments. If you have a question about it, toss it in the comments or meet me up on Facebook and say hi. So now I'm just continuing with the same color, the bluegrass green, and the dotting tool around it here with the pink one, the smallest one. But yeah, so feel free to ask me questions. I love trying to help y'all. I've been doing this for years and years and years. I know I've taken some time in between. Oh, we got a spot on the stone and I messed it up when I went to wipe it. So the silicone tool, here's an interlude. You scrape all the paint as much as possible, grab a paintbrush and use your background color and just go right on over it. It is the easiest way to fix a little blurb like this. I don't like to call them mistakes, but I also don't want to keep this one in my piece. So there we go. And then you let it dry. And while I'm letting it dry, I'm going to work my way around the stone here, just finishing up the right side of each of these. But anyway, I was in the middle of saying how I love answering questions. I love doing this. I love the art communities. I've been in this for years, doing it on and off. I think my YouTube channel has been on since 2009. But I've actually been doing the mandala stones and selling them, painting them since I think 2011 now. But I love making up whimsical designs. As you can see, I don't generally use stencils, but if you guys have one that you want me to try out, let me know. I'll try to get it and test it out. Or if we want to just do compass lines, I'm willing to try out things if I have the time to go for it. So if you guys have any ideas for future videos, feel free to pop that in the comments as well. This is pretty much dry enough here, so I'm going to go over it with that round of dots here. But you can see, you can't even see where, you can see, you can't even see, no. You can see, you can't notice where I made the mistake there and messed up my paint. So I'm just going to suggest baby wipes to everyone, but also like stencil and brush cleaner works really well. It does, some of them are a little oily, but there's a good one from Deco Art that's fairly fluid, and you can just dip a Q-tip in it and scrub your stone off if you are on the part where it's not background painted and you want to fix it. See, I did it again there. I'm going to wipe that off. Hang on. There we go. It's been a while since I've done this. I'm making a mess here tonight, but I'm enjoying every minute of it with you guys, and I'm super excited to get this out to you and hear how you're all doing. So a lot of this is with this one pink tool. You can see you can create a really nice design almost with just the silicone tool and this. And I've gone through tons of videos and dipping things, everything in my house, from screwdrivers to erasers, and I see people are using the erasers. That's great to make ovals again. Those little erasers we had like in kindergarten that attach onto the top of your pencil. You can just pop them off. The end that comes to a point makes ovals. So I encourage you just to like try dipping anything you have that you don't mind getting paint on, of course, to try to paint with it. If you don't have brushes or don't have tools and don't have a lot of money or a huge dotting budget, because I mean, you know, the way inflation is these days, I don't imagine things are very cheap for anybody. So whatever we can do to still enjoy our creative time, right? All right, so looking at this, I think I'm gonna put some gold at the bottom of each of these ovals to kind of carry that gold out. That's something I do enjoy doing in each piece, is kind of making sure that the colors flow. So if you're looking at it, like I can see mine on my screen, or sometimes I'll take a picture of it on my phone and just kind of take a minute away and look at it and see what I think it needs. So just make sure wherever you're going to tuck that in that you have enough space on each section. Sometimes my spacing gets off and I don't necessarily have the space for a huge dot or 3 dots. So I had enough for 1 gold dot in those below the ovals, so that's what I did. But that's the beauty of mandalas too, the whole choose your own adventure every time. It can be different. You could start with these same colors and just change 2 or 3 tools, or don't do any ovals, just do large circles instead of ovals, or, you know, less dots and some swipes. I mean, every single thing could be different with whatever you add to your mandala. Working on the 3rd row here of dots. And my paint, you can see, is starting to get a little chunky up top, so it's been sitting out on my palette for a little bit here, so the viscosity and the consistency is a little dicey at times, so I'm working with that. But one of the things you can do to kind of alleviate that is put a damp paper towel over your palette when you're working, and it will help keep your colors from doing this, you know, where you get like the thick skin on the top because it's like pudding at that point. Or if you've left and come back, I wouldn't use it. I would just, you know, re-pour another little bit in the well. But I know the dollar store too, there are these little like almost like the pill bottles, only they seal a little better than they're round and the top just clips on and off. And you can use those to mix your paints in and just something to seal it up so they don't dry out. There's a gal in Australia, she calls them paint pots. It's pretty cute. All right, so now I am switching to this kind of like mixture of bluebird and the bluegrass green. So I mixed them together to get this color, but if depending on what you have for your colors, it's kind of like a little bit darker than a sky blue, kind of a coastal blue, I guess, if you have that. There used to be one here in the Deco Art line called Coastal Blue, and that's about what this is. And I am using a lot more on the tool, and I'm using the larger end, so that's why I'm getting larger dots. And you can see too, I just re-dipped it for every top dot so they were bigger at the top, and then I just dip it again to start working my way around the right side of the petal. So really loading the paint is a skill that you can learn very easily, but it does change the way you do things depending on how you load it, how much you load it. If your tool is angled like mine, it will hold more paint. So if you don't have your tools bent like mine, they won't hold as much paint. Well, there's all these little nuances, but I think that's so fun to just go through and trial and error and figure it out, or looking at other people's videos. Like, there are a lot of people doing dot art mandalas now, so there's so many videos out there, and there's so many wonderfully talented people. So if you don't want to listen to Miranda talk the whole time, there's lots of lovely ladies and some men out there doing videos. There's a lot with just music. So I want to just encourage you, if you're just starting out, or even if you're a veteran, go find them, check them out. They're so fun, and it's such an enjoyable time. So I am grabbing back that Venetian gold now with my largest stylus. So this is the 3mm that I'm using. And I put that paint down, and then I'm going to grab my etcher here. And I'm going to pull the paint into a point to give it that tail. Well, you have to forgive me. This is a new setup at my basement studio here while I'm still constructing the outdoor one. So bear with me. It was a little off angle because I'm looking in the camera, but you get the idea. So you pull it down into that space in between those two elements that we made, and then kind of fix the top here so it just kind of evens in to your tail. But this is also a great way to do shapes. So if you want to do a diamond, you can pull it into a diamond shaped from here, or, you know, put wings off of it or swirls off of it. There's no limitations. It's just your imagination. Go for it. Try new things. And it's just a rock. There's more rocks out there. Or if you're not confident doing on here, try a piece of paper first, or cardstock works really well. Or maybe if you're not sure about, you know, maybe I didn't want to really for sure do this. If my stone was dry, I could lay a piece of saran wrap over it and then dot on the saran wrap to see if I wanted to do this gold like this. Just to kind of see how it looks like. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm very visual. And being able just to kind of see what it looks like ahead of time is helpful as well. So just utilize what's out there. You could use a toothpick for this. There's even a dollar store tool now I've seen. They have that is pointy like this, some embroidery tools, a needle. The mechanical pencil works pretty well as long as you keep it covered with paint, and then you don't, you know, the lead from it, you don't write with it. If you push too hard, it'll break too. So I encourage you maybe something a little sturdier, but it will work. We're just pulling them into this teardrop shape to pull it down in between. I love this Venetian gold too. It's just so pretty. For those of you who have been with me for a while, you know I have a kind of obsession with metallics, so I have to restrain myself. I know some of you have that issue too. They're just so pretty. And they just really give it a lot of pep, bling. But see, if I add double dip to this too, you get a little more of a 3D look, which I know a lot of people are looking for, like that puffy paint, more texture. So just add more on, especially with the metallics. They work really well for this. So now I'm just kind of looking at it to kind of see, do I want to add some white? I'd like to finish out the design to the edge of my black circle at least, because I tend to try to hide the background a little. I more just use it for the tint. Okay, so now I have mixed a little bit of Royal Navy in with the bluegrass green to get this lovely kind of aquamarine color, a little darker. And I am using the largest dotting tool, the 3mm, to go ahead and put a dot at the bottom of each of these ovals. So on each one at the base, put a large dot of this aquamarine. It's really just Royal Navy mixed with bluegrass green and a little bit of the bluebird to lighten it up. Okay, so now I'm just kind of looking at it to see. I think I will bring some of that color out here as well to kind of blend in with the outer circle, and that way you don't see your background as much. I tend to try to like hide the black circle ultimately with the design so that it doesn't have the edges. So I'm just going to do that all the way around here with this color that we've mixed, the aquamarine. And I'm using the 2mm, but it is making pretty large dots because the paint is a little more fluid. I'm not sure if it's because I mixed the two or what, but it is fairly fluid. So we are going around each of the elements with this nice blue, and we'll do that on each one. And I didn't use any kind of measurements to do the black circles, so you can see the spacing is a little off, but it's okay because we've reached the edge all the way around, and we'll just kind of blend in our design here on the outer edge. So you're just gently working your way around. Even though this is a larger stylus, it's the same idea. You just let the paint run off the tool to make smaller dots as you go around here. And I think now that I've used this darker that I'm probably going to need to kind of lighten it up here. So I'm going to bring the white that we used, or the light jade, maybe the white, from the center out here and just kind of finish off that edge where we still have a little bit of our background showing around either side of these gold swipes. And just tuck each one here. I'm using the 2mm, so it's the blue one. And that if you don't have this much space, that's fine. You can use a smaller tool, or if you don't have this space at all, then you don't have to add the white. Everybody's spacing comes out a little bit different each time. So like I said, the choose your own adventure. It's painter's choice. Or it would have looked nice, I think, even with the jade too. That would have brought the jade out from the middle to here and lightened it up a little as well. But that is the fun of mandalas. You can just pick something different every time. All right, so looking in the inner area here, I'm thinking I want to lighten that up a little bit. So I'm grabbing the smallest dotting tool here with the white, and below each of the petals, the jade petals, I'm just putting one little dot of white here to kind of brighten up that center just a little bit so that it draws your focus in. I think too, like spacing the colors out throughout the mandala, it really just kind of, it's really pleasing to the eye. Now I'm going to grab my etcher because I need to go way smaller and go way in between the first round of gold dots that we did. And it's good that we waited till now anyway, because this is such a tight area. You didn't want your paint to run into one another like the gold and the white together. So this way it's already dried and you can just kind of tuck the little white dots in here. Toothpick, mechanical pencil, whatever you have that's teeny tiny. And then just one little dot of white here. I think I'm going to do a dot of white below each of the outer ones as well, just to kind of make it seem like each of those swipes with the white is its own element. So I'm just going to steal from these ones because they're all wet still and put one little dot towards the larger section of the gold. So grab the white with the etcher and just tuck a little white dot in there. It kind of adds a little more delicateness to it too, because you're doing the dainty little dots. Alright, so in looking at this, I'm just feeling like I need to kind of bring this out just a little more with the gold. So I am going to take my smaller dotting tool here, and we're going to grab the gold, and on each of the tops of these, we're just going to go out and do 3 dots at the top to just kind of finish that edging off. I don't have any rhyme or reason other than I just felt like it needed to be extended just a little bit, and the gold needed a little more, just needed a little more there. So for those of you, you know, who like to follow guidelines, recipes, stencils, that type of thing, I can't give you any specific like, hey, this needed this because it was specific to this design. It just is like, I look at it on my screen, I take a picture of it, and then I just decide from there if I feel like it needs a little more. So you don't have to do this, obviously, you make it your own, but I don't know why I just wanted to pull that design out just a little bit farther here with the gold. Yep, that worked out. And now we just let it dry, and then I will varnish over it with a Liquitex High Gloss varnish for this one, which has UV protectant in it and can even go outside. I'm sure many of you who have been following me over the years know my story about how I hit them with a lawnmower and it didn't even chip the paint. So I really stick by this varnish. It's fantastic. I can use it indoors. You don't need any sort of masks. There's no foul odors, no extra work involved with mixing, and it comes out perfect. I almost only ever use one coat. So, all right. Let's finish this off here. All right, so here is what our lovely stone ends up as for this design today. I'm really excited about the colors and the way this one came out. I've missed doing natural stones. So I think if you stay tuned here, I'll do the varnish really quick. I wasn't planning on it, so I don't have my setup, so bear with me, but I'll just show you quickly how to brush on the varnish for your natural stone. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this Liquitex varnish. It is about anywhere from $10 to $15 for an 8-ounce bottle. Hobby Lobby, Joann's, Michael's, online. I mean, they carry it everywhere. It's very easy to find, but it is the professionals one, so it has an orange label. It has UV varnish, UV resistant, so like I said, your colors won't fade when you use this. I know I sound like a commercial, but I love this stuff. So now we're going to show you how to put it onto your stone. Alright, so I have a sponge brush here. And like I said, this isn't my normal setup, so you should probably prop this up on something so that you can brush it on quickly. Don't overwork it. I pour it right on the stone and then some on my brush too. I kind of overload it a little bit and then work my way around the edges just to kind of clean up any of the drips that are coming down the sides. And I don't go over it that much. I just go over it once or twice to make sure it's all covered and that I don't have any bubbles and then I don't have any drips. And then I just let it dry. So I'm actually going to put it up on some tape here that I have. I have a rack that I normally use and paint it on and let it dry on the rack. But if you just prop it up on something so that you can paint it on quick and then do the bottom really quick to get all the drips here, because it will dry fairly quickly to the touch. See the drips I have there? So you want to just make sure that you smooth all of that out really quick. If you have paint markers, paint pens, don't overwork it at all. Like, just dump it over it. I can't guarantee that they won't run. So if you've used paint markers and you want to use the varnishes, you just got to do it quick and try not to overwork it. Some of them will run anyway, depending on the quality of the markers, but there we go. See, I prop it up and you get a finished product. So you can see that shine is so awesome. This is just one coat. It really brings out the natural stone looks too. So if you have any markings or anything like that, so I haven't done the bottom yet. But you can see I just had to smooth it out, and now that it's dry on my other side, I flip it and I'll paint this side with the varnish as well. But it gets really shiny and it protects really well. I hope you guys really enjoyed doing this stone with me today. It has been so much fun being back with you all again, and I hope to be able to do another one really soon. Just one more reminder that I'm only on Facebook and here now, so no website anymore. So I hope to see you all again super fast. Take care.